What if I told you that the milk sitting in your refrigerator right now, the one you bought yesterday, the one you gave to your kids this morning, the one you've been pouring into your coffee every single day for years, might not actually be real milk, not in the way you think. I'm not talking about plant-based stuff. I'm talking about what's labeled as cow's milk, what's sitting in that familiar white jug that looks completely normal, completely safe, completely fine. But behind that label is a story the dairy industry has spent billions of dollars to make sure you never, ever find out. And here's the thing that genuinely shocked me when I started digging into this. It is totally legal, all of it. The FDA knows, the USDA knows, Big Grocery knows, and yet every single day, millions of American families are pouring something into their glasses that has been silently watered down, chemically altered, laced with residues that have been banned in Europe and Canada, and stripped of the very nutrients that made milk worth drinking in the first place. Today we are pulling back the curtain on the American dairy industry. I'm going to walk you through 5 categories of milk that are quietly doing damage to your health, and I'm going to do it without naming names at first, because I want you to understand exactly what to look for on that label, so you can spot the problem yourself. Knowledge is power, and the dairy industry is counting on you not having it. And then, and this is the part people have been asking me about, I'm going to reveal the 4 milk brands that are actually worth your money. The ones where the cows are healthy, the farming is honest, and what's inside the carton is genuinely good for you. I'm going to reveal them one by one, counting down from 4 to number 1, and trust me, number 1 is going to surprise you. So stay with me all the way through. This is one of those videos you're going to want to finish, because what I reveal at the end is going to completely change how you shop for milk forever. Let's get into it. Before we talk about specific brands, I need to give you a crash course on what's actually happening inside the American dairy supply, because once you understand the system, you'll immediately understand why some brands are absolutely fine and others are a disaster in a plastic jug. America produces around 226 billion pounds of milk per year. That's an insane amount. To keep up with that demand, the conventional dairy industry has quietly shifted away from the small family farm image they still plaster all over their cartons and completely industrialize the whole operation. We're talking about factory farming on a massive scale, with thousands of cows packed into feedlots, places where they never see a field, never eat a blade of grass, and are treated more like milk machines than living animals. And when you push a biological system that hard, things start to go wrong. To keep those cows producing at unnatural levels, the industry relies on a cocktail of interventions. Synthetic hormones to jack up production, antibiotics to fight the constant infections that come from those conditions, and grain-heavy diets loaded with GMO corn and soy that were never part of what a cow is biologically designed to eat. Every single one of those interventions leaves something behind in the milk, and that's before we even get to what happens during processing. Here's something most people don't know. There are different levels of pasteurization. Standard pasteurization heats milk to around 161 degrees Fahrenheit. It kills the dangerous bacteria, and it largely preserves the nutritional integrity of the milk. But the dairy industry, especially for organic milk that needs to travel long distances, has increasingly shifted to something called ultra-high temperature pasteurization, or UHT. And UHT heats milk to 280 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. That's above the boiling point of water. It kills everything, and I mean everything. The dangerous bacteria are gone, yes, but so are the beneficial enzymes, the heat-sensitive vitamins, the immunoglobulins, the proteins that help your body actually absorb the calcium. The result is a product with a shelf life of 6 to 9 months that can sit unrefrigerated, which is great for corporate logistics and terrible for your body. Researchers have found that UHT processed milk is significantly harder for your body to digest. The proteins are denatured, which means they've been physically altered by the heat in ways that make them behave differently in your gut. And when your digestive system is working with proteins it doesn't fully recognize, inflammation follows. That inflammation, over time, can contribute to leaky gut, immune dysfunction, and a whole cascade of downstream health problems. Oh, and UHT milk? It often has that faint cooked or eggy aftertaste that you've probably noticed but never been able to explain. That's sulfur compounds formed by the extreme heat treatment. Your taste buds were warning you. We just didn't know to listen. Now let's talk about the 5 types of milk that you need to put back on that shelf and walk away from, and why. The first type of milk you need to stop buying immediately is private label store brand milk from major national retail chains. This one is tricky because these products often look completely harmless. They come in clean packaging, sometimes with organic labels slapped right on the front, and they're always the cheapest option in the case. And that price, that suspiciously low price, is your first warning signal. Here's what's actually going on. Several of the biggest retail chains in America source their store brand milk, including their so-called organic milk, from a single industrial dairy operation. This is a massive centralized producer that operates on a scale that makes the concept of a farm almost laughable. We're talking about thousands of cows, industrial scale operations, and a supply chain optimized entirely around cost cutting. And the organic label on these products? Consumer advocates, independent watchdog organizations, and investigative journalists have repeatedly raised serious questions about whether the organic standards are being genuinely met or just technically exploited through regulatory loopholes. In fact, a USDA investigation previously identified significant willful violations at one such industrial supplier, finding that cows weren't spending meaningful time on actual pasture, weren't eating genuine organic feed, and were essentially being raised like conventional cows with an organic sticker on the final product. One of these retailers was even named in a federal lawsuit alleging that the organic milk sold under their store brand wasn't actually organic. The takeaway here is simple. When a gallon of organic milk costs dramatically less than every other organic option on the shelf, that's not a deal, that's a lie with a price tag on it. The store made sure their logistics team was happy. They didn't make sure your family was. The second type of milk you need to avoid is any conventional milk that comes from cows treated with recombinant bovine growth hormone, rBST, also known as rBGH. This one makes my blood boil, and here's why. The European Union, Canada, Australia, Japan, and dozens of other developed countries have completely banned the use of rBST in dairy production. They looked at the science, they looked at what it does to cows, they looked at what it does to milk, and they said no, hard no, not in our food supply. The United States said yes, in 1993, and it's still legal today. So what does rBST actually do? It's a genetically engineered hormone that gets injected into dairy cows every 2 weeks to force their bodies to produce 10 to 15% more milk than they naturally would. The manufacturer's own internal data showed that cows treated with this hormone experience a 79% increase in mastitis. That's a painful bacterial infection of the udder. And when cows get mastitis, the somatic cell count in their milk spikes. Somatic cells, for the record, are a mixture of immune cells and pus. The warning label on the rBST drug itself explicitly states that use may result in an increase in somatic cell counts in the milk. It says that right there on the label of the drug being injected into the cows that make your milk. Higher somatic cell counts don't just mean lower quality milk. They mean the milk turns sour faster, has compromised texture, and indicates that the cow's body is in a state of constant infection and immune stress. And then there's IGF-1. Insulin-like growth factor 1. Milk from rBST-treated cows contains elevated levels of this hormone, and IGF-1 is a cell growth promoter. Some studies have raised concerns about its potential links to certain types of cancer, particularly when consumed regularly over years. The research isn't conclusive, which is exactly what the industry will tell you. But the precautionary principle is pretty clear here. Why would you voluntarily consume a hormone that's banned in dozens of other countries and linked in some research to accelerated cell growth, when you don't have to? Here's how you spot these milks at the store. If it doesn't say rBST free or no artificial growth hormones on the label, assume it has them. Plain conventional milk with no hormone-free claim? Walk away. The third type of milk to avoid is ultra-high temperature pasteurized milk. And here's the really sneaky part. Including organic milks that use UHT. We already talked about what UHT does to milk nutritionally. Destroys enzymes, denatures proteins, obliterates heat-sensitive vitamins, makes the milk much harder to digest. But what most people don't realize is that a huge percentage of organic milk on the market, milk that consumers specifically buy because they think it's healthier, is UHT processed. Why? Because organic farms are often far from the population centers where people buy milk. The milk needs to travel longer distances, and UHT processing extends the shelf life from a few weeks to several months, which makes logistics much cheaper and easier. So the dairy company pockets the efficiency gains, and you get nutritionally compromised milk dressed up in a premium organic package at a premium organic price. The way to avoid this is to look on the carton for the phrase ultra-pasteurized. If those words are anywhere on the packaging, put it back. What you want to look for instead is HTST. High temperature, short time, pasteurization, or even better, vat pasteurization, or low temperature pasteurization. These gentler methods kill the dangerous bacteria, while leaving the beneficial elements of the milk largely intact. This is a huge one, because I know a lot of people watching this think they're already doing the right thing by buying organic, and organic is definitely better than conventional. Don't let this discourage you from going organic. But organic UHT is not the same as organic low-temp pasteurized milk, and the difference matters for your health. The fourth type of milk to avoid is what I call CAFO milk. Milk from confined animal feeding operations. This is your standard factory farm milk. These are the cows that never see daylight, never touch grass, never exist in any environment that resembles what a cow is supposed to live in. Instead, they stand on concrete, are fed a diet of GMO grain, soy, and sometimes, and I wish I was making this up, food industry byproducts, including processed human food waste. When cows eat grain instead of grass, the composition of their milk changes fundamentally. Grass-fed milk has a much higher concentration of omega-3 fatty acids, conjugated linoleic acid, and fat-soluble vitamins. Grain-fed milk is skewed heavily toward omega-6 fatty acids. The ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in grain-fed conventional milk can be as high as 16 to 1. The ideal ratio for human health is closer to 1 to 1, or 2 to 1. When your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is massively out of balance, it creates a pro-inflammatory environment in your body. And chronic inflammation is the root of almost every major disease we're dealing with in modern America. Heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, cancer. You are not just what you eat. You are what the animal you're eating ate. CAFO milk also carries a far higher risk of antibiotic residues. Cows in these conditions get sick constantly, and the answer is always more antibiotics. And while regulations require withdrawal periods before the milk goes to market, the system isn't perfect, and testing by independent consumer groups has repeatedly found antibiotic traces in conventional milk samples. How do you identify CAFO milk? Look for the word conventional and the absence of any pastured, grass-fed, or certified organic label. If the milk is dirt cheap and comes from a household name conventional dairy brand, it's almost certainly CAFO milk. The fifth type of milk to avoid is what I'd call greenwashing milk. Brands that exploit the language of health and wellness while delivering almost none of the actual benefits. This is the most subtle and most insidious category, because these brands have done a masterful job of marketing. They use words like natural, wholesome, farm fresh, and pasture-raised. They show rolling green fields on their cartons. They tell a story about happy cows and sustainable farming. And people trust that story, because why would they lie? Here's how the game works. The word natural on a food label in the United States means absolutely nothing. It is a completely unregulated marketing term that any brand can use for any product. Same with farm fresh. Same with wholesome. These words are not connected to any standard, any audit, or any meaningful certification. Even pasture-raised can be misleading. There is no uniform federal standard for pasture-raised claims on milk. Some brands use it to mean cows spend 30 days a year on pasture. That's it, 30 days. The other 335 days, they're in a feedlot, and the brand puts pasture-raised on the label. Additionally, several brands that present themselves as premium, health-focused organic milk options still use ultra-high temperature pasteurization, still source milk from large industrial operations, rather than small family farms, still have supply chains with no meaningful third-party verification of their claims, and still charge you premium prices for it. The rule here is this: marketing language without a rigorous third-party certification is just marketing language. Look for specific certifications: USDA Certified Organic, Certified Grass-Fed by the American Grass-Fed Association, or A Greener World, Regenerative Organic Certified, or Certified Humane. These are the labels with teeth. Okay, now we get to the part you've been waiting for. After everything I just told you, after learning about the hormones, the somatic cell counts, the UHT processing, the factory farms, the greenwashing, you might be wondering if there is any milk in America that is actually worth buying, any brand that is genuinely honest, genuinely clean, and genuinely good for you. The answer is yes, and I've got 4 of them for you. These are brands that have been scrutinized by independent watchdog organizations, rated by consumer advocates, verified by legitimate third-party certifications, and consistently recognized as representing the gold standard of what dairy in America can and should look like. I'm counting down from number 4 to number 1, and I promise you the way I've ordered this list is intentional. Each one is better than the last for very specific reasons. And number 1 is in a category completely by itself. Let's start. Coming in at number 4 on our list is Maple Hill Creamery. If you've seen this brand at Whole Foods or your local co-op and wondered whether the price is worth it, let me settle that for you right now. For most people, yes, absolutely yes. Maple Hill Creamery, based in upstate New York, was one of the true pioneers of the American grass-fed organic dairy movement. They describe themselves as America's original 100% grass-fed organic dairy company, and they've been at this since 2009. What started as a single farm has grown to a network of over 150 certified organic 100% grass-fed farms. The 100% grass-fed designation here is not marketing language. It is a fact backed by third-party certification. The cows that produce Maple Hill milk eat nothing but organic grass and dried forages. No grain, not a kernel. And as we talked about earlier, what a cow eats is directly reflected in the quality of the milk. Maple Hill milk contains significantly higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids and conjugated linoleic acid than conventional milk, because the cows are eating what cows were biologically designed to eat. Maple Hill is also certified USDA organic, which means no synthetic hormones, no antibiotics, no GMO feed. These are your baseline protections, and Maple Hill clears them with room to spare. Now, one nuance about Maple Hill that keeps it at number 4 rather than higher on our list. Their milk is ultra-pasteurized. As we talked about, UHT processing does compromise the nutritional profile and the digestibility of the milk. Maple Hill makes beautiful, genuinely grass-fed organic milk, but the UHT processing is a real limitation, and it means that nutritionally, you're getting less than you would from a non-UHT milk of comparable quality. That said, compared to the nightmare categories we talked about earlier, Maple Hill is a dramatic, meaningful upgrade. If this is the best you can access where you live, get it. It's the real thing. In December 2025, Maple Hill was acquired by Horizon Family Brands. Keep an eye on this development. The brand's commitments should stay intact under the new ownership, but it's worth watching to see if anything changes over time. Overall, Maple Hill earns its spot at number 4. Genuinely grass-fed, genuinely organic, genuinely committed to doing things the right way. The UHT processing holds it back from the top, but this brand deserves your trust and your business. Coming in at number 3 is Strauss Family Creamery. Now we're getting into the elite tier. Strauss Family Creamery, based in Northern California's stunning Marin County, is in many ways the epitome of what a small, values-driven American dairy operation looks like when it's done with absolute integrity. This is a brand that has been setting the standard since 1994, decades before grass-fed and organic were marketing buzzwords rather than actual farming philosophies. The Strauss family became the first certified organic dairy in the western United States, and they've never compromised on those standards even as competition increased and the temptation to cut corners grew. But here's what makes Strauss genuinely exceptional, and why it climbs above Maple Hill on this list. Strauss milk is vat pasteurized and non-homogenized. Vat pasteurization, also called low-temperature pasteurization, heats the milk to 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. This is the most gentle traditional method of pasteurization available. It kills the harmful bacteria while preserving the beneficial enzymes, the proteins, and the fat-soluble vitamins, far better than any other commercial pasteurization method. This is as close as commercially available milk gets to the nutritional profile of raw milk, with the safety benefits of pasteurization included. And non-homogenized. That means the milk hasn't been forced through tiny pressure nozzles to break up the fat globules and distribute them evenly throughout the liquid. Which means when you open a bottle of Strauss milk, the cream rises to the top, just like milk has existed for all of human history before industrial processing changed everything. Many people find that non-homogenized milk is significantly easier to digest, partly because the fat structure is intact and more recognizable to your body's digestive systems. Strauss also sells its milk in reusable glass bottles, a practice that is almost unheard of in American commercial dairy, which aligns with their deep commitment to sustainability and reducing environmental footprint. They're certified organic, their cows have meaningful access to pasture, and their supply chain is genuinely transparent. The reason Strauss sits at number 3 rather than number 2 or number 1 comes down to the grass-fed component. While Strauss cows do have access to pasture, the brand doesn't carry a 100% grass-fed certification, which means grains may still be part of the cow's diet. Given everything we talked about regarding the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio and the nutritional superiority of truly grass-fed milk, that distinction matters. But make no mistake, Strauss Family Creamery is extraordinary. If you can find it, and you're in the western United States, it's much more accessible. It belongs in your refrigerator. Coming in at number 2, and this one is a name that health-conscious people are talking about more and more, is Alexandre Family Farm. Alexandre Family Farm, based in Crescent City, California, is not just a dairy, it's a statement about what food production can look like when a family decides to do absolutely everything right and refuses to compromise on a single element. Here's what makes Alexandra legitimately different from almost everything else you'll find in an American grocery store. Alexandra Family Farm is the only dairy in the United States certified regenerative organic by both the Savory Institute and the Regenerative Organic Alliance. That's not a marketing label. Those are two of the most rigorous third-party verification systems in the world. What does regenerative organic mean? It means the farming practices don't just avoid harm. They actively repair and improve the ecosystem. The cows graze in ways that build soil carbon, support biodiversity, and draw carbon out of the atmosphere. The farm is a net positive for the environment, not just a neutral one. They call their own standard their Eco-Dairy Seal, and they've been measuring soil health, ground cover, water retention, and carbon sequestration as outcomes to verify that their practices are actually working. And then there's the milk itself. Alexandra produces 100% grass-fed, certified organic milk. The cows are on pasture their entire lives. No hormones, no antibiotics, no GMOs. But here's what elevates Alexandra into a class truly by itself from a health standpoint. They produce B2/A2 milk. Let me explain why this matters. There are two main types of beta-casein protein in cow's milk, A1 and A2. Most conventional dairy cows in the Western world have been selectively bred to produce milk with high levels of A1 beta-casein. But A1 beta-casein, when digested, produces a peptide called BCM7, which some researchers believe is associated with digestive discomfort, bloating, and inflammation in people who consider themselves lactose intolerant, when they may actually be reacting to the A1 protein rather than lactose at all. A2 milk comes from cows that carry only the A2 gene. It produces milk that is structurally closer to human breast milk. Many people who struggle with conventional dairy have reported dramatically better tolerance of A2 milk. Alexandra's cows are tested to be A2/A2. Both copies of the gene are A2, which means their milk is as close to the original, ancestral dairy product as you're going to find in a commercially available product in America. Alexandra Family Farm milk is available at Whole Foods stores across the country, and their products have developed a devoted following among health-conscious consumers, parents of children with dairy sensitivities, and anyone who simply wants to know that every single thing about the milk in their fridge is exactly as good as it can possibly be. The reason Alexandra sits at number 2 and not number 1? Availability and scale. This is a small family operation, and access is more limited than our number 1 pick. For the majority of Americans, finding Alexandra regularly requires either a Whole Foods nearby or a specific grocery ecosystem that carries it. That accessibility gap, and just barely, is why number 1 takes the top spot. But if Alexandra Family Farm is available to you, I genuinely encourage you to try it. It may be the finest milk available on the American market. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. The number 1 milk brand in America. Number 1 is Organic Valley Grass Milk. And here's why this is the number 1 pick. Not just because it's excellent, which it absolutely is, but because it combines the highest levels of quality and integrity with a level of accessibility that makes it genuinely achievable for most Americans, regardless of where they live. This milk is available nationally, at major retailers, at co-ops, online, and in health food stores across all 50 states. Let's talk about what you're actually getting when you buy a carton of Organic Valley grass milk. Organic Valley was founded in 1988 in Wisconsin as a farmer-owned cooperative, meaning the farmers themselves own and govern the company. There are no outside shareholders to answer to. No Wall Street investors demanding that corners be cut to boost quarterly earnings. Over 1,700 family farms across 34 states in the United States. The entire mission of the cooperative since day one has been to save family farms through organic farming. That mission hasn't changed. In the grass milk line, this is Organic Valley's premium 100% grass-fed product, is in a different category from their standard organic milk. When we say 100% grass-fed, we mean the cows that produce this milk eat organic grass and dried forages only, 100% of the time, 365 days a year. No grain, ever. This is third-party verified through the Organic Plus Trust Certified Grass-Fed Organic Livestock Program, which means an independent organization audits the farms to confirm that the grass-fed claim is real, not just words on a package. The nutritional results are dramatic and have been confirmed by peer-reviewed research. A study published in the Journal of Food Science and Nutrition, using over 100 samples of Organic Valley grass milk, found that this milk contains dramatically higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids compared to grain-fed milk, and a nearly 1-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3, which, as we discussed, is the ratio associated with anti-inflammatory health outcomes. The average American consuming conventional dairy gets a ratio closer to 16:1 in favor of omega-6. That difference alone is significant enough to affect your long-term health trajectory. Organic Valley grass milk also has significantly higher concentrations of conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA, which in studies has been shown to support immune function, body composition, and metabolic health. And because these cows are eating what cows were biologically designed to eat, the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K2 are present at much higher levels than in conventional milk. No synthetic hormones, ever, no antibiotics, no GMOs, no toxic pesticides. These have been core commitments of Organic Valley since 1988, long before they were trendy, and they are audited, certified, and enforceable. And beyond the milk itself, there's something deeply satisfying about where your money goes when you buy Organic Valley grass milk. You are directly supporting a cooperative of over 1,700 family farmers who chose a harder, more principled path because they believed in it. You are funding a business model that proves sustainable, humane, organic dairy farming is economically viable. Every time you buy this milk, you are voting for the version of American agriculture that actually serves people and the planet. Now, one nuance worth mentioning. Organic Valley grass milk is HTST pasteurized at standard temperatures, not UHT, which means the nutritional profile is far better preserved than in ultra-pasteurized milks. However, it is homogenized. If you're specifically looking for non-homogenized milk, Strauss would be your go-to. But for the combination of 100% grass-fed nutrition, genuine organic standards, rigorous third-party verification, national availability, and a farmer-owned business model with real integrity, Organic Valley grass milk is the best milk most Americans can actually buy. Week in and week out, at scale. This is the one. This is the milk that deserves to be in your fridge. Let me bring this all together, because I want you to walk away from this video with a clear, simple framework that you can use every time you stand in that dairy aisle staring at 17 different options. Here is your milk buying checklist. Print this out, screenshot it, tattoo it on your hand, whatever it takes. First, does it have a legitimate third-party certification? Look for USDA certified organic as your baseline. Better yet, look for certified grass-fed from a recognized independent certifier or regenerative organic certified. Second, does it say ultra-pasteurized anywhere on the label? If yes, it's not ideal. Put it back if you have a better option. If organic, low-temperature pasteurized milk is available to you, choose that. Third, does it make claims like natural, farm fresh, or wholesome without any certification to back it up? That's marketing. That's not standards. Marketing is not a health claim. Fourth, is the price suspiciously cheap for an organic label? Remember what we talked about. The milk industry has figured out exactly how to produce milk that technically qualifies for a label, while delivering almost none of the actual benefits of what that label implies. A genuinely good product costs more, because it takes more care and real resources to produce it right. And fifth, do your own research on where the milk is sourced. This has gotten easier in recent years. Brands that are doing the right thing are generally proud to tell you where their farms are and how they operate. Brands that aren't will give you very carefully worded marketing language instead. The 4 brands we talked about today, Maple Hill, Strauss, Alexandra Family Farm, and Organic Valley Grass Milk, are the brands you can feel genuinely good about. They're not perfect in every single dimension, but they are honest, they are transparent, and they are producing a product that is actually nourishing. The 5 categories of milk we talked about, private label industrial organic, rBST treated conventional milk, UHT processed milk, CAFO milk, and greenwashed wellness milk, are what's quietly filling your kitchen with something your body didn't sign up for and your family didn't deserve. You now have the information to make a different choice. And that matters, because the only way this industry changes is when enough people stop buying the bad stuff. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know before, share it. Put it in front of someone who needs to see it. The dairy industry has a massive marketing machine and decades of brand trust on their side. The only way the truth competes with that is if people like you choose to pass it on. And I'll be right here, continuing to dig into the things the food industry doesn't want you to know. So subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.